I didn't set any goals this year. And it was so freeing that I immediately started drafting a video about what life looked like after being freed from the shackles of goal setting. But joke's on me, because now here I am just a few months later, navigating the mess of unproductivity brought on by that decision. As someone who was forced to set SMART goals beginning at the age of 16, complete with a 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year vision plan, not setting any goals this year felt revolutionary. But I think I swung the pendulum a little too aggressively in the opposite direction, and now I'm here trying to come up with some goals as a sort of lifeboat. As a dreamer, I have always enjoyed imagining what my future might look like. So the idea of goal setting always appealed to me. But I think I approached it a lot more as this imagine if exercise, bouncing around hundreds of different possibilities rather than a this is what I need to achieve or else I'm a failure sort of thing. But this began to change in high school when I started to become a lot more specific and rigid in my goal setting thanks to my part-time job as an educator, which is just a fancy word for salesperson at Lululemon. At 16 years old, fresh on the job, I was pointed to a library of self-improvement books with the expectation that I was always borrowing something off the shelf. And I was given the direction to write out my 1-year, 5-year, and 10-year goals, written in first person, of course, so I could hijack my brain into believing I had already achieved them, so that they could then post them all around the store and show all the potential customers just how motivating and inspiring and different a place Lululemon was. A crucial piece of the goal-setting process was the sharing of it, not just to decorate the store, but because it's what was supposed to reinforce them. It was meant to make us feel accountable, which felt empowering and encouraging at the time, and it does have some science behind it, don't get me wrong, but I think I'd later realize just how much heavier this made my goals feel. Now, goal setting became so embedded into how I operate that it naturally showed up in my content creation journey as a sort of annual practice, with me going on to create an annual recap and reset video that accidentally followed the same structure year after year. First, pulling up my goals from the year prior, noting how I fell short on nearly every single one of them. 2, reflecting on why I fell short, which was usually a combination of cool and unexpected opportunities popping up, overwhelm, and a bout of burnout. Then 3, ending with setting more ambitious goals that I always insist are more modest and realistic than the year before, only for the cycle to repeat itself the next year. And I was never mad at that cycle because despite missing the majority of the goals, I always had a big win I could point back to that made it all okay. I could get over the fact that I didn't post weekly on my blog because I still hit my income target, or maybe I got to work with a dream brand, but then something broke the cycle. If you watched my last video, you know 2024 threw a wrench in everything. If you didn't, the short version is I moved to Hong Kong, my output dropped, and I lost half my income as a result. I hate admitting it, but there is a direct correlation between how consistent I am across all of my platforms and how much help I have behind the scenes. I was at the top of my game when I had my best friend converting my YouTube videos into blog posts and my husband doing the rough edits of all my videos. But relying on loved ones who have their own full-time jobs is not the most sustainable way to scale a business. That's where Ozdire, the sponsor of today's video, comes in, making outsourcing easy by helping buyers hire freelancers. With over 900 categories of offers available, you can hire the right person for the right task with clear scope and pricing upfront and payment held securely on the platform until the work is delivered and approved. Start delegating tasks and scale your business using the link in my description and get 10% off your first purchase and 1% cash back. Now, I was very aware that I'd have to pivot my goals when I actually moved, but leading up to it, I was operating as normal. In fact, I even came out excitedly sharing new goals, like a 12-week business challenge that involved launching a whole new merch line from scratch, which naturally failed after 2 weeks. And this tension that I was feeling between all my big goals and my inability to actually achieve them really started to weigh on me, and I just was feeling so overwhelmed. Around that time, I was reading my Bible, and James chapter 4, verse 13 to 15 struck me and completely changed my perspective on goals. Ooh. Let's pull it up. Right there. Okay, now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. In the moment, I felt like this perfectly illustrated my own situation. After all, I had set out the year with big goals to grow my business, and then boom, something came up that I could have never predicted, pulling me in a whole new direction. And in reflection, this truth was present in the cycle of every single recap I had done over the past 5 years, just on a smaller scale. I was like desperately clinging to my goals and what I said was going to happen for the year, not really recognizing that I wasn't in control. So this gave me a lot of peace as I began to actually surrender my plans, to be a lot more open to change, and that peace carried me through the rest of the year. And yet, 2025 kicked off and I came out again with my big goals. I think in my mind, I was like, okay, we're here, we're settled in a new country, we can get back to work. And I think in hindsight, I really was trying to hold on to the lesson I learned the year prior by sort of downplaying my goals, saying, here they are, but I'm staying open to redirection. One of the bigger goals I shared was around being able to hopefully earn $2,000 between this YouTube channel and my vlog channel. It was a number that I threw out because it kind of sounded reasonable. Maybe, I don't know. But after the video went live, I got a message from a friend saying like, that's like 200,000 views a month, right? Like 7,000 views a day. You got this. And at the time I was averaging like 4,000 a month. And I responded saying, that math is horrifying. I was just spitting out numbers. I didn't actually do the math. And inevitably, I dropped off as I always did, not landing anywhere close to that. And I shrugged it all off as saying, meh. Well, I was open. The goal wasn't that serious anyways. Now, this is where my mindset was sitting when 2026 kicked off. And I said, enough with the goals. Let's lean fully into James 4:13 to 15. And while that was incredibly freeing at first, it brought me to this weird place that I'm in now, where I've been sitting at my computer day after day without the drive to work on any one particular project unless someone gives me a really hard contractual deadline. And I posted less now, like in the past few months, literally with no other commitments, than I had while I was preparing for this move. I am not proud of that. It is extremely embarrassing, but I've just felt so directionless, so stuck. And only now am I realizing two things, and bear with me if you feel like these realizations are really obvious, but we're all always learning. First, it's the goals that I've kind of always been setting my whole life might have actually been the only thing tethering me to productivity. But the goal itself cannot be the only tether. Because as I have experienced, if it's cut, there's nothing stopping you from getting lost at sea. And I realized that I have never actually had a problem setting ambitious goals. My problem was just that I had no real systems in place to achieve them. No idea how to break them down so that I knew without fail what I was supposed to be tackling on like a Thursday morning. And I know I'm not alone because our culture is so obsessed with the what, the SMART goals, the vision boards, the 10-year plans, the New Year's resolutions. And it almost completely ignores the how, the daily systems, the habits, the discipline. It's why like 63% of people who set New Year's resolutions give up in their first 30 days. Like this shows up very clearly in me just throwing out a random income goal for the year and not actually thinking about what it would take to get there. Just operating on dreams and vibes. Maybe I should have been reading some of the self-improvement books the Lululemon folks were telling me to read. And while all of that does address my ability or inability to actually pursue my goals, I do want to come back to my takeaway from James because I think it addresses the posture you need to have towards your goals. While what resonated with me amid moving chaos was valid and incredibly valuable at the time, I now realize that what was being called out in those verses wasn't actually the having of plans, it was the boastfulness of it, which probably seems very obvious if your Bible has the literal heading, boasting about tomorrow. But I don't think sharing goals is inherently wrong, nor do I think I was necessarily boastful in my own sharing of them, but Ego and pride can take over when you share your plans for the future with certainty, because it assumes that you are in control of everything and leaves you then feeling very glued to the outcome, which for me, I think is where like a lot of that overwhelm comes in. And for maybe other people, sometimes feel like shame or inadequacy when they aren't meeting their goals. And when we allow humility to enter into our planning, and when we acknowledge that we can't control or predict what's around the corner, it allows us to be so much more open and welcoming to change, regardless of what that change is, whether you just missed the mark, or it was a willing pivot, or an external force or factor has forced you to switch things up. And so when I look back at the start of this year, when I said no goals, I think I was recalibrating too hard in the wrong direction for the wrong things. And I'm now ready to lay out a vision as a sort of reformed goal setter. First, my goals are going to be a lot more bite-sized, making the development of healthy habits and discipline the goal over something big and shiny in the distance. Like setting tomorrow's intention the evening before so that I know what I'm actually supposed to be doing when I wake up, not picking up my phone first thing in the morning, and keeping website blockers on during my work hours until I learn some type of self-restraint. 2, I think my goals are going to be a lot more fluid. I am allowing myself some output goals, some SMART goals, like posting weekly on this channel or posting monthly on my blog channel. But I am going to try to be more driven by goals that aren't so SMART, ones that aren't as measurable. Like I want to create videos that stick with someone, make someone feel seen enough that they leave a comment or shoot me a message. I want to create things that show people a perspective they weren't familiar with. I want to be seen as a bright light in the community. And I want to create things that make me feel like I'm growing personally and leaving me feeling creatively fulfilled, which means that I will need to be actively creating, which I'm really hoping that my new approach will equip and motivate me to do. If it's not obvious, I am a bit of a scatterbrained, multi-passionate creator. And if that's you too, watch this video next. I hope it makes you feel seen.